Hi friends, this is Nicole Marguerite. Thank you for tuning into the No Show on my YouTube channel. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this meaningful conversation with this month's special guest. My show shines a light on the good things that are happening in the world that are healing humanity and some of the challenges we will face. I also like to cover topics that are sometimes uncomfortable or difficult to talk about. You know the no-nos in today's modern society. I hope this show will inspire you to advocate for human rights and for equality for all people and spark a love revolution. Let's get this show on the road. My next guest on the No Show is Dr. Joaquin Espinosa. Dr. Espinosa is the Executive Director of the Linda Crnic Institute for Down Syndrome. He is also a professor in the Department of Pharmacology at the University of Colorado Medical Campus School of Medicine. In his role as the Executive Director of the Crnic Institute, Dr. Espinosa oversees 38 research teams and more than 140 scientists who investigate many aspects of Down syndrome. Reflecting his passion for discovery, Dr. Espinosa says, being a scientist is a great lifestyle where you can be of service to society while having tons of fun. Please welcome Dr. Espinosa. It's really nice to see you.
Likewise, very good to see you too, Nicole.
And thank you for being on the No Show. I really appreciate that a lot.
Thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure.
You're welcome. You want to start with the first question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. You wear a lot of hats in your professional life. You are a researcher, professor, and executive. Was there a moment in your life that inspired you to work in research for Alzheimer's and trisomy 21 Down syndrome?
Thank you, Nicole, for the question. This goes back to the year 2013, with the creation of the Global Down Syndrome Foundation and the Linda Crnic Institute here in the Denver, Colorado area. We became very interested in learning more about Down syndrome, and the Linda Crnic Institute for Down syndrome was offering pilot funding grants, for researchers, scientists to become interested in studying Down syndrome. So at the time, our team was studying cancer. We were cancer researchers. We said, okay, maybe we can start a new line of investigation into Down syndrome. At first, we didn't make much of it, but then with the first few results, we became fascinated by the science, but also we started to meet persons with Down syndrome, and we became enamored, of people with Down syndrome, and it's been a one-way journey. Today we're fully devoted to the study of Down syndrome, and we love interacting with people with Down syndrome like you and others, and doing research that will help people with Down syndrome.
Do you like stories with others besides myself? Learning about their journeys as well?
Absolutely. You see, every person with Down syndrome deals with that extra chromosome, the trisomy 21, in their own unique personal way. So we learn from everybody with Down syndrome. You cannot, this, Nicole, you cannot generalize about Down syndrome. There may be some statistics, some average numbers, but as you study a lot of people with Down syndrome, you realize they're all on their own journey. They're all dealing with the chromosome in their own unique personal way. So we love, interacting with a lot of people with Down syndrome and learning from all of them.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that a lot. I met you years ago I think about the Annual Down Syndrome Convention in Sacramento, where I was a featured speaker. From there, I ended up working with you on a research project without going into all the details. How did my participation in your research study help advance your goals?
Thank you, Nicole, for the question. I remember very clearly meeting you and your mom at that conference, and we having a great conversation. And you have been very generous with your time and your energies, and willing to participate in research. And thanks to you and many other research participants in our study, which is called the Human Trisom Project. It's the largest study of people with Down syndrome. Thanks to your participation and that of others, we have learned so much. Specifically, we have learned a lot about the role of the immune system in Down syndrome, and that has led to clinical trials, testing medicines to improve the health of people with Down syndrome by modulating the immune system. So we have a special place in our heart for you, for your generosity, your trusting us, participating in research. So we really appreciate you.
How do you feel about yourself, learning about the world and what you're doing? Does that take up your energy too? And how you feel in your own daily life? I'd like to know a little bit about that.
Thanks, Nicole. Oh, we're very busy. There's so much good work to do for people with Down syndrome. You mentioned Alzheimer's disease, there's the autoimmune conditions, there's the metabolic aspects of it. So people with Down syndrome have been doing better and better. Their life expectancy has increased significantly. Their health outcomes have improved significantly. But Nicole, we have still a ways to go, right? The goal of the research is for people with Down syndrome to live as long as their peers in the general population, to visit doctors less and less and less, to take fewer and fewer medicines, or to take medicines that are more effective. So we have a lot of work to do. And we are very dedicated here at the Linda Crnic Institute for Down syndrome and the Global Down Syndrome Foundation. We're thinking constantly about how could we do more and better for people with Down syndrome. I should say it's a great lifestyle. I love working for people with Down syndrome. I wouldn't do anything else. So we like to work the long hours because it's very meaningful.
How did you enjoy the conference? At least.
Absolutely. Conferences are highlights, because we're working hard day in, day out, a lot of meetings, a lot of time in the lab. But then going to conferences, we get to hang out with people like you and other people with Down syndrome, with the families, with the colleagues. So the conferences are always very energizing. You do all this networking and you get all these ideas, and then you socialize. So conferences are great. Some of my favorite activities.
How do you feel about encouraging others like myself to participate in science and research in order to improve the quality of life for people with medical conditions like trisomy 21? What advice would you give to people who are considering partnering with researchers like yourself?
Well, I would like to thank everyone who participates in research and to emphasize that research participation is the key to find solutions, right? We need to be able to study a large number of individuals with Down syndrome with different characteristics. As we said earlier, not two people with Down syndrome are the same. So as people with Down syndrome participate in research, they help themselves, but they also help other people with Down syndrome, and then they also help the future generations of people with Down syndrome. So research participation is key. Without the volunteers, who sign up for various research studies, our scientific progress will be very, very slow. And we have great stories where research participants were part of a study 5 years ago, and then later on they benefited from clinical trials, for example, based on the discoveries that they enable in the first place, right? So you come into a study, you help the scientists make a discovery, And then you yourself benefit from that discovery a few years later. So it's not that it takes like 100 years. This can happen in real time, in a short amount of time. So I always encourage research participation. I think it's a great thing to do.
That's amazing. Yeah. What do you believe is one of the greatest achievements in research to date?
Well, I'm very proud of the hard work at the Linda Crnic Institute for Down Syndrome and the Global Down Syndrome Foundation. It's hard to pick one big achievement. I think all the advocacy work that has taken place in Washington, D.C., leading to increased funding for Down syndrome research through the National Institutes of Health. We're very proud of that, of the fact that there are more scientists studying Down syndrome today than ever before. There are more clinical trials for people with Down syndrome today than ever before. We're very excited about that. In our own research program, I have a couple favorite topics. One of them is the immune system. You and I have talked about this in the past, trying to understand how a hyperactive immune system may be causing health issues in Down syndrome, and then how to modulate the immune system for benefits, right? So that's one of the most exciting areas of research. Lately, I have also been very excited about understanding why people with Down syndrome don't grow to their full size. These are people with Down syndrome tend to be shorter than their peers in the general population. So trying to understand that and how to improve the growth and the development of people with Down syndrome. And I could go on and on, but those are just some of the examples of things that we feel very proud about.
October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month. People who are born Down syndrome have many common health complications like thyroid issues, dementia, digestive issues, hearing and vision loss. What is being done in the US to help fund research to address these healthcare issues, and how can people get involved?
It is a new age in Down syndrome research. There is more research on Down syndrome taking place today than ever before. This is in large measure because of this increased funding through the National Institutes of Health, through a project known as the Include project. So there are a lot of scientists now that have become interested in studying Down syndrome. So I would say, continue. If you're a person with Down syndrome, look for a research study where you may be able to participate. If you are not a person with Down syndrome, you can support this research in other ways. You can write to your legislators, make sure that the funding for Down syndrome research continues to be made available to the National Institutes of Health and to all the universities. And then just more generally speaking, I encourage everybody to make an effort to meet people with Down syndrome like you, to get to know people with Down syndrome, to abandon some outdated prejudices or outdated notions of what living with Down syndrome may look like. You're a clear example, Nicole, being the host of this show, being a strong advocate, an activist. You are really demonstrating you're a good role model of all the great things that people with Down syndrome can achieve. So I encourage everybody to reach out and hang out with somebody with Down syndrome.
That's amazing. I really like how you talked about that and letting people know what the reality is about a marginalized community, like people who are different and unique. So thank you. Really appreciate that a lot. Um, Finally, what legacy do you want to leave and what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, I would hope that all the hard work that we're doing today, that we have been doing over the last several years and in the years to come, would lead to an elongation of the lifespan of people with Down syndrome, and increase life expectancy, but also a lesser burden of these co-occurring conditions that you mentioned, like the thyroid disease, Alzheimer's disease, complications from lung respiratory infections, and so on and so forth. So my hope is that the work that we're doing today would lead in our lifetimes and after, uh, to people with Down syndrome living longer lives with fewer medical needs, right? And with fewer medical issues. So I hope that our work here at the Crnic Institute can contribute to that vision for the future of people with Down syndrome.
So thank you so much for coming on and being a part of the No Show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nicole, for the invitation, and send my greetings to your mom and your friends. And I hope that we can reconnect soon.
It's time to reunite, to fight for human rights. Here's your call to action. It is the beginning of a new year. I'm excited to set my new goals for 2025 and work to achieve them. I hope you are too. This year, I am inviting you to join me on a 21-day challenge. The 21-day challenge is a commitment to a specific goal or a habit for a conscious period of 21 days. The idea is based on studies that takes 21 days to form or break a habit. After 3 weeks, the new habit should have become a part of your routine. It can be a goal or walking 15 to 30 minutes a day, which has a ton of health benefits. It can be to stop smoking, stop drinking, stop eating fast food, and getting more sleep. Reading every night before you go to bed. It can be a 21-day self-care challenge. There are lots of resources for tracking your progress online. The key to success is to hold yourself accountable. No one can do that for you. You must start by wanting to be a better version of you. Change your habits, change your life. Let's do this together. Sometimes it is more fun when shared with others. Here's the challenge. Post a picture of yourself completing your challenge and use the hashtag 21-day challenge with Nicole. Every time you post using the hashtag, I will enter your name into a raffle drawing to win anything you want from my Love Revolution merch on my website. Plus, I can cheer you on as you try to achieve your goal. Thanks for being a part of my journey. I look forward to being a part of your journey too in 2025. Be authentic, be kind, and spread love. Don't blink, you might miss the rapid fire questions. Ready, set, go. If you aren't doing the career you have now, what other career would you do?
That's a great question, Nicole. I have some hobbies that I wish I could devote more time to. I like playing the guitar. I wonder if, I could be a musician and maybe have a band, a rock and roll band. That's a daydream sometimes.
That's amazing. What is the best advice someone has given you?
I remember a friend telling me at some point when I was stressed about something or another. He said, Joaquin, everything is complete. Nothing is missing. I know he was right. Sometimes we worry about what we lack. We worry about the things that we don't have or the things that we haven't achieved. And he was like, no, everything is complete. Nothing is missing. And that felt really soothing, it felt really good. So I always like to repeat that to myself, It's okay to strive and try to do more and achieve more, but everything is complete. Nothing is missing.
That's amazing. What is something nobody knows about you?
Oh, but they will know now, right? Now that I share with you. Um, mm, I would like to share that I grew up in a city in Argentina called Mar del Plata by the ocean. So although now I live in Colorado in the mountains, I grew up by the ocean. So growing up, I did all kinds of activities by the sea, fishing, surfing, lifeguarding, all that fun stuff by the beach. Uh, so yeah, I always like to go back to the ocean when I have time for a vacation, go surfing or fishing, that kind of stuff. Despite the fact that I live in Colorado for 20 years, I still think of myself as a sailor, a fisherman, a surfer.
I've been to Argentina too, and it was really fun.
Oh, I'm so glad that you visited. It's a great country to visit.
Yeah. Since we're on the no-no show, I'd like to ask you what the big no-no in our modern society.
Hmm. I would say no to anything that creates separation, to everything that creates duality, I am a strong believer that deep inside we're all one and the same, that we're all very similar. We may think that we're very different, that we have different identities, different beliefs, different political inclinations, different citizenships, and all that. But I'm a strong believer that we are all, one and the same, and just different incarnations of something sacred. So, so I'm always no to anything that creates separation, division among us.
I like that.